You pack your last box. You hand back the key. You step into the hallway, and the heavy door clicks shut. You finally walk away, and for weeks you waited. They stayed quiet. Now you're sitting on a new couch, staring at a blank wall, wondering if you just made a terrible mistake. Is it really over? Or is this just the space you needed? Do they even notice I'm gone? Am I the one who pushed too hard? Or did I finally stop fighting for something that was already dead? The truth is brutal, and it's beautiful. They aren't silent because they moved on. They're silent because their nervous system is finally catching up to a loss it refused to process. You aren't failing at love. This is exactly what happens when someone finally hits their emotional limit. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why the panic hits when you're gone, how to read the signs without falling into old traps, and how to protect your peace if you choose to walk forward. Let's get into it. Most couples believe an avoidant finally panics when they suddenly see what they've lost. But the real truth is, the panic never actually starts with missing you. It starts when the psychological shield finally cracks. Your partner's nervous system has been running on a quiet, relentless defense program. Deactivation, distance, self-reliance. It feels like coldness, but beneath the surface, it's actually a nervous system drowning in unregulated overwhelm. What looks like indifference is usually exhaustion. And when you finally stop chasing, that defense loses its target. The emotional safety they built by pushing you away suddenly becomes a prison. The love doesn't disappear when they withdraw. It just goes underground. And now that you're gone, the underground collapses. This isn't about them suddenly realizing you're perfect. It's about the attachment alarm finally ringing. And here's where it gets interesting. Once that alarm sounds, the entire dynamic shifts. You need to understand exactly what happens next. Here's the part no one talks about. 1. The false freedom fades. Most couples think stepping back instantly creates peace. It never does. It just postpones the reckoning. When the chase ends, their nervous system finally drops the guard. They believed distance would feel like breathing room. Instead, it feels like an empty house. The safety they built by pushing you away suddenly becomes a cage. You don't lose them to independence. You lose them to isolation. And here's what changes everything. The disconnecting response to your silence sounds like, "Good. They finally backed off. I can actually breathe now." The connecting shift sounds like, "Wait, the room is quiet. Why does it feel like something is missing?" When you see that shift, the panic isn't loud. It's quiet. And that quiet is the first real sign they're waking up. That's when the silence stops feeling like freedom and starts feeling like an echo. And when you do that, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to say a word. And this is the one most couples never figure out. 2. The delayed echo lands. Most people in relationships assume emotional reactions happen in real time. They rarely do. Attachment wounds operate on a delay. You finally pull your energy back. The avoidant nervous system tries to maintain the old rhythm. It fails. Because safety was never about being left alone. It was about knowing you'd stay. Now that you're gone, the unspoken longing surfaces. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's scrolling past a memory and feeling a physical drop in the chest. Their brain isn't processing loss yet. It's processing absence. And here's the contrast. The disconnecting habit looks like immediately jumping into distractions to numb the ache. The connecting shift looks like sitting with the discomfort and whispering to themselves, "I ran from this because I got overwhelmed." But running doesn't erase the bond. When that realization lands, the defense stops feeling like protection. It starts feeling like a wall they built themselves. And when you internalize that shift, the relationship stops feeling like a chase and starts feeling like a choice. This is where it gets really interesting. 3. The testing waters begin. Most couples interpret sudden outreach as a return to normal. It isn't. It's a nervous system recalibration. The avoidant brain has spent months predicting danger in closeness. You finally removed the variable. The prediction breaks. They feel a pull. They act on it. But it's messy. Not louder conversations, not sudden declarations of love, not scheduling a weekly check-in, but two people who actually feel safe enough to be honest with each other for the first time in years. And here's what nobody explains. The disconnecting text usually reads, "Hey, hope you're good. Just checking in." The connecting shift sounds like, "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I realize I shut down when things got heavy, and I miss the way we used to figure things out together." When that text lands, it's not about convenience. It's about connection. And that's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. And when you meet that honesty with calm presence, their brain quietly registers, "I can actually trust this space again." But here's what changes everything. 4. The overcompensation spike. Most couples panic when the avoidant suddenly tries too hard. Don't. It's an attachment rebound. The nervous system just swung from extreme distance to extreme proximity. It's destabilizing. They spent months believing they needed zero help. Now they're reaching for your hand. The emotional truth beneath it is simple. They finally felt the weight of the void. They want to fill it. Fast. And here's the contrast. The disconnecting pattern looks like sudden grand gestures that vanish in a week. The connecting pattern looks like steady, consistent presence that says, "I don't need to fix everything overnight. I just want to show up, honestly and slowly, and rebuild the trust I walked away from." When you see that steadiness replace the rush, the dynamic stops feeling chaotic. It starts feeling grounded. And when you practice meeting that steadiness with your own calm boundaries, something in them says, "She doesn't need me to perform. She just needs me to stay." And here's the part no one talks about. 5. The unspoken longing surfaces. Most couples think vulnerability has to be spoken to be real. It rarely starts that way. Attachment speaks in micro moments. You finally step into your own life. The avoidant nervous system stops fighting gravity. They feel the pull. They watch from a distance. And the ache becomes undeniable. This isn't a trick for avoiding conflict. This is what it looks like when someone has learned to love without losing themselves in the process. And here's what changes everything. The disconnecting response to your growth looks like quiet resentment masked as indifference. The connecting shift looks like quiet admiration and a text that simply reads, "You look really happy lately. I'm glad. I've been reflecting on my part and why I couldn't see it before." When that honesty replaces the quiet competition, the longing stops feeling like a threat. It starts feeling like a bridge. And that's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to manage and starts feeling like a person to come home to. This is where it gets really interesting. 6. The repair window opens. Most couples rush to fix things the moment the panic appears. That's the exact moment you should slow down. The nervous system is fragile. It's learning how to feel again. You finally created the space. They finally stepped into it. But rushing to merge again just triggers the old deactivation loop. Safety doesn't return in a day. It returns in 30-second moments of turning toward each other. And here's the contrast. The disconnecting impulse sounds like, We need to figure this out right now. Let's just go back to how it was. The connecting shift sounds like, we don't need to rush. I'm just glad we're talking. I want to understand what made me shut down, so I don't do it again. When that patience replaces the urgency, the repair stops feeling like a contract. It starts feeling like a rhythm. And when you hold that space with quiet certainty, what's moving through them is, I forgot how good it feels to be chosen, and I'm not willing to walk away from it again. But here's what nobody explains. 7. The real choice emerges. Most couples believe the avoidant panic guarantees a permanent return. It doesn't. It guarantees awareness. Awareness doesn't equal readiness. The nervous system is awake. The old patterns are exposed, but the work is just beginning. Intimacy isn't built in the big moments, it's built in the 30-second ones, when you choose to look up. And here's the contrast. The disconnecting habit looks like promising forever while repeating the same quiet withdrawals. The connecting identity shift sounds like, I see the cycle. I see how I hurt us. I'm not asking for a reset. I'm asking for the chance to practice showing up differently, every single day. When that accountability replaces the old avoidance, the panic stops being a performance. It becomes a practice. And that's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a guessing game into one that feels like a sanctuary. And when you both commit to that practice, the safety returns. Not as a feeling, as a choice. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to show up differently. And that changes everything about what's possible between you and the person you chose. You stop waiting for them to chase. You stop guessing. You step into the kind of quiet strength that doesn't need validation to feel real. When you internalize this, you stop reacting. You start responding. And your partner will feel the difference before you've even said a word. Real intimacy doesn't start when you find the right person. It starts when you decide to become the kind of person who knows how to stay. If this resonated, leave a comment with the one line that hit home, because your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Subscribe for more honest, psychologically grounded relationship breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one.